Will the Edmonton Oilers grab their first win of the season tonight? Or will Tyler Yaremchuk have to open up a can of cat food live tomorrow on Oilers Nation Every Day? We'll have that answer and more tonight at 11. But until then, hello and welcome to Pre-Gaming with BORDZY, brought to you by Sherwood Ford, the Giant. You know him, you love him, and the Giant for a reason. Tonight, the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. We can't go 0-4, right? It can't get worse than it was last year. Tonight, it's just BORDZY here. Actually, it's not just BORDZY here. It's the Brett and BORDZY show going on tonight. Got our boy Brett Holden behind the scenes, producing, keeping things running smoothly. As always, later tonight, we will have Nation Dan around for Oilersnation After Dark, breaking down what we hope is an Edmonton Oilers victory. I really do not know how many more of these losing shows I can do. So many people asking for the clown outfit, and I can't lie to you. I looked at it this morning in the closet before I left the house, and I said, no, it is not that time. We are not there yet, but hey, we'll see how things go. We're also going to have a special guest, be joined by Anthony DeMarco a little bit later on in the show, one of the contributors here at Daily Faceoff. If you watched Oilers Nation Every Day, we've had him on a couple times before. He's the man. He knows puck, and he knows everything Philadelphia Flyers. He's kind of our resident Flyers guy here at the company, so that will be great, and we will get things going. But Brett, this is going to be your last game with me, right? Because you, my friend, are going to sunny California right away, and I am jealous.
I am. It's my second last episode because I will be doing the show with you on Saturday as well. But yeah, off for 2 weeks.
So Thursday I get Pat.
Thursday you get Pat at Greta. You might still see me there anyways. You will see me there.
Come on the show.
I mean, yeah, I'll be there. I'll certainly be there. But yes, I will be gone for 2 weeks, which will be very nice for the mind and soul. So.
Hopefully when you come back, the Oilers are on like a 6-game heater, and all of this will just feel like a terrible dream that we went through. Checking in with the chat today. Looks like everybody's a little bit more positive than heading into Sunday, and we'll get into it. Loyal to Oil, first comment of the day. It starts with one. The boys got this. Let's get going. Austin's in. Let's get her going, boys. Crippled Zombie with one of my favorite names in the chat. You need to get a photo to go along with that as well. There will be no cat food today, says Loyal to the Oil. Yeah, you got to feel bad. It is one Tyler Yaremchuk's birthday today, and I know that is kind of the dark cloud that's been hanging over him all day. He's a good sport. When he joined Oilers Nation After Dark, if you're new here, Ty after game one said if the Oilers go 0-4, he will eat cat food live on the air again, as he's obviously done this before. It was, what, a year ago? 2 years ago when he made a bet about the Boston Bruins. So I don't want to ruin Ty's birthday with that. As funny as it would be to watch him have to do that again, I also have to be in the room with it the entire time, and it smells like absolute piss. So you don't really want to deal with that. I'd also like to see an Oilers W. But what up, everybody? Haven't seen you in a couple days. I hope we've all had time to process, because things were a little dark after Sunday night when the Oilers lost 4-1 to the Calgary Flames. But it's a new day. It's a new night. It's a new game with a new opponent. The Philadelphia Flyers coming into town tonight. Puck drop, I believe, is scheduled for 8:20 Mountain Standard Time, which means if you're counting at home, and if home is on the East Coast, that's 10:20 p.m. for people in Philadelphia. That's terrible. And I'm not the Liam here. That's Liam's job, resident Oilers Nation, of complaining about the NHL schedule. But, dude, that one sucks. This one is going to be, we believe, though, nationally televised on ESPN in the States. So we had to dress our best. I wore my new country club sweater. Brett has been chirping me all day about my outfit because I look like one of the Menendez brothers.
Yeah, I think you have taken that show a little too close to heart.
Been crushing Milli Vanilli, that's for sure.
Yeah, we have been crushing Milli Vanilli, and I'm concerned about how you may be an influence on me. I just went with a good old alma mater shirt, so I guess that's kind of a college look. If I went and worked out in swimming, and I was pretty bad at tennis, so I guess I could be Eric.
Lance Kane, he did purchase a small island off the coast of Costa Rica. Oh, it's good stuff, Lance. I missed you. And welcome back to the chat. I'd like a cup year in there too as well, Lance, if you could. But a week into the season, we are still looking for our first W of the season, with 2 losses coming against, let me say, expected bottom feeder teams, because the Blackhawks did look okay, and the Calgary Flames are now 3-0. You get a look here at the Edmonton Oilers so far this season. Those are putrid numbers to look at. 1 goal a game, which is dead last in the entire NHL. We have had 3 called back. We'll touch on that in a minute. 5 goals against a game. That's 15 throughout the season. Just absolutely brutal. Power play rocking at 20%, 1 of 5, which, I mean, that number doesn't look brutal, but if you know the Oilers and you know the eye test, it just hasn't looked the same. And then, Brett, it was 44% on that graphic as well for the Edmonton Oilers. Penalty kill, which, let me tell you, is a league worst. So there's a couple ways you can feel about how it's gone so far, right? Saturday night, I thought the Oilers did play better, obviously, than their home opener when they got shit on 6-0. They outshot the Hawks 38-20 in that hockey game. I referenced the deserve to win a meter was in the 60s for the Edmonton Oilers, but it was quickly followed up less than 24 hours later. 4-1 loss at the hands of the Calgary Flames, and the Flames loss felt worse than the Blackhawks one because we deserve to win more of that game against the Hawks. I don't care what the deserve to win meter says against the Flames. We were outplayed, and I said it just felt crappier in that sense. Yes, the chirps were flying on Twitter. Yes, they are still flying online if you have been online, but it felt like the Oilers were just straight up outplayed by a hungrier team that had more to prove maybe. And I don't know, man, the list of issues, we can go through it. It is a long list of issues. 3 goals in 3 games, 15 goals against. Doesn't take a mathematician to tell you ain't going to win any hockey games like that. The top 6, which was super hyped up this past offseason by yours truly and all of us here at Oilers Nation, all of us in the NHL world, you thought, holy cow, the Edmonton Oilers, without a doubt, have the best top 6 in the NHL. And it's only 3 games in. We are not panicking. I have not pressed the button. Haven't even brought the button out yet. Not even thinking about panic yet. But the top 6, my brother, has been, dare I say, nearly invisible. The defense is struggling to find any pairings, any consistency, and we knew that that would happen. You can't have that many guys leave on the back end and have to come in with a shorter preseason. Darnell Nurse didn't play much. Obviously, Ty Emerson's a new guy. Dermott was on a PTO. Stetcher coming off an off-season surgery that he had to go through as well. And then, of course, I mentioned your PK is the shittiest in the league at 44%. Your goaltending, well, I'm not blaming Sunday's game on the goaltending. The other 2, you very well easily could, and that needs to improve as well. So all of those things, incredibly frustrating. I'm still sitting here, honestly, a little bit more frustrated just the way that that game against the Flames ended on Sunday. Yes, you lost 4-1. I'm frustrated that there was no pushback, no physicality in there. Michael Backlund slashes the Achilles heel, literally, of your goaltender, Stuart Skinner, the only protected area on his body. It's not like Michael Backlund is any strong, tough guy, heavyweight in this league. Nobody went after him. That was very frustrating for me as well. But overall, it's been a brutal start. We all know the Edmonton Oilers, if offense has been the issue, the offense will come eventually. But it's got to come pretty quick here. I said I'm not panicking, but you cannot dig yourself a hole like you did last season. You can't bank on a 16-game winning streak to just come out of the clouds and maybe an 8-game heater, maybe another 8-game heater. I look at the old schedule. I don't see many of those forecasted on the schedule. Granted, I didn't think we'd win 16 in a row last year, but there needs to be urgency this evening. You are staring down the barrel of an 0-4 start after going to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And while I'm excited to see Tyler eat cat food, that would be sick. That would be hilarious, Brett. I don't care about the joke. I need an Edmonton Oilers win tonight, and I need to see urgency tonight, which I do think we'll touch on a sec. Chris Noblaw is feeling some urgency tonight.
Well, 100%. And it's funny, as you were talking about that, that was the exact thing that was running through my mind. It's you asked me the last 3 games what I want to see from this Edmonton Oilers team coming out into each game. And it's been show you that you were the team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. Go and show why everybody is picking you to be the Stanley Cup favorite. And they haven't done that. They lost in embarrassing fashion in Game 1 at home after everything, after the faux pas banner raising and all this. And you still came out and put out a stinker. Game 2, you have to bounce back. You put down a stinker against one of the league's worst teams from last year, and a team that should not have put up. We sat here today and said, what was the score again? Oh, 5-2 or whatever it was.
Yep, 5-2.
Oh, 5-2, and you weren't able. Okay, now you have the Calgary Flames, second of a back-to-back, your biggest rival, and you've been stunk out of the building for a third game in a row. Now what are you going to do? Are you just going to tuck your tail between your legs and just go, okay, well, it looks like it's going to be one of those years? Or are you going to go out there and show that this is the reason why everybody is picking you to be a Stanley Cup favorite?
I always say you bust out McDry for break glass in case of emergency. Well, I think we might have an emergency on our hands because the boys are going nuclear tonight. That's right. Leon Draisaitl is going to be playing on Connor McDavid's wing. A lot of people saying it in the chat as well. McDry needs to wake up, says Crippled Zombie, who also points out, hey, Bordsy, I took your comment and I added a pic. Thank you very much. We'll go with that. So you see it here on your screen. We're not just changing up one thing. We're not changing up two things. We're not changing up three things. We're changing up a lot of things this evening. But we're going to start with the dynamic duo because they have been less than stellar. They have 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points in 3 games between the two of them. Here you get a pretty good breakdown. Plus minus isn't everything, but that is hard to look at on that graphic. -5 for Connor McDavid, -4 for Leon Draisaitl. And it's what I kind of mentioned off the hop, right? So much was made up in the offseason about the top 6 and what was going to come the Oilers' way. You get 40-goal guy in Jeff Skinner, former 30-goal guy in one Victor Arvidsson. But Dry just hasn't been able to find that chemistry with those guys. 5v5. He has been line blended up to the top line with Connor McDavid already twice this season. And we're not sitting here doubting, saying that this is going to be an extended period of time, that the Oilers' top 6 is not going to find the back of the net. Do not mix my words. Do whatever you need to do with that. They will show up eventually, but this is the time to get it going. This is the spark that you needed. Watched a pregame interview from one Chris Knobloch, and honestly, in real terms, in bro terms, what Nobby said was, I think the boys just need to see one go in the hoop. They need to see one go past the goal line, and that may or may not open up the floodgates. Everybody's gripping their sticks a little bit too much. I think everybody's overthinking a little too much. Maybe just fire some pucks on net. I always say you cannot score if you don't shoot. Also, you put those 2 best players in the world on a line where you're looking for goals. You throw in a 50-goal scorer in Zach Hyman. I am no scientist, no mad scientist. Sweater looks pretty good like one, though. But tonight, I do think that is going to be the recipe. I'm expecting a big bounce-back offensive performance. We've heard it game in, game out here from the leaders of the team saying they need to step up. And while we've seen glimpses of it, I do think with both of them on the same line, you get last change at home as well. We will look at the rookie second-line center that the Flyers are rolling out tonight, and I do think that is a spot where the Edmonton Oilers could pounce. And once again, it's not like they haven't had their chances. Hyman's hit posts. McDavid's had chances. Dry has had chances. We just need to see them a little bit more consistently. That might be the word of the day today because it leads us to the Edmonton Oilers goaltender this evening, one Stuart Skinner. He's 0-2-0 on the season. He's got a 5.40 goals against and an 805 save percentage. Do not read into those numbers. It has only been 2 appearances. And while I think he was brutal in game 1, he allowed 5 goals on 13 shots. Just cannot have that to start your season. I do think the hometown boy was much better against Calgary. He gave the team for most of the game the chance to win. He made some big saves when you needed it. He was making lateral side-to-side movements. Those are his numbers last season. Expect more of that as this season goes along. But I thought he gave the team a chance to win really until around the 3rd period, and it's not all on Stu. You need your offense to show up. But those final 2 goals in the 3rd period, if we saw them, they were big, fat, juicy rebounds off of his new pads kicked into the dead slot. Yes, you want your D-men to clear that out, but you know Stuart Skinner, he was laying face down on the ice after a couple of those goals. You know he was frustrated. And you've seen me sit here now for a year straight. I will defend my guys till the bitter end. Stuart Skinner, specifically Brett. I'm still telling you every day that Justin Fields is an elite quarterback in the NFL because you're damn right he is. But the fans out there already whining and crying about Stuart Skinner and saying, we can't win anything big with Stuart Skinner. The Oilers will never be able to move on with Stuart Skinner in the net. He's too inconsistent. Shut up. I get the frustrations. I understand it, but it feels like I'm beating my head against a wall. This 25-year-old goalie is taking the Oilers on 2 playoff runs. Yes, he was inconsistent in both of those runs. Remind you, he's 25 years old. This should be his first year of being the 1A goaltender. Thank you very much, Jack Campbell. He's been inconsistent for stretches. I understand that frustration, but that's what young goalies do. Jake Ottinger last year had worse numbers than Stuart Skinner in the regular season. Those people shitting on Stu are saying, well, Jake Ottinger should get a $9 million deal at the same point. So I've just been getting frustrated with this. To sit here and say you cannot win with Stuart Skinner is nuts. He just took this team to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, where he allowed 2 goals against. Yes, the Reinhart one was weak, but he allowed 2 goals in this game, Brett. I do not think I'm talking crazy. I think everyone else in the chat is talking crazy. Stuart Skinner will be fine. Can we stop freaking out? That last game against Calgary, that's not on Stuart Skinner for the reason of the loss. Could he be better? Sure. 890 save percentage. You scored 1 goal in the hockey game.
Yes, 100%. And I've preached this from, I believe, Game 1 with Stuart Skinner. It's early in the season with goaltenders, especially, and trying to get back into game timing. It's timing is massive for a goaltender, and you're not going to get that when you're facing AHL, minor league, junior hockey guys in preseason. Now, when you go and see other goalies around the league, like Joel Blomqvist, for example, with Pittsburgh, who's going out there and starting quick and starting well, you sit there and go, well, why can't you do that? Well, it's unfair. It's unfair for you to start comparing people 3 games into the season and start going, well, this guy's not going to have a good season because 2 games that he started out of an 82 game series or 82 game season. I'm so used to saying series from the playoffs, by the way. It's so second nature now. But 82 game season and a guy who's probably going to play 50 plus games, it's not that big of a deal. I understand it stinks, especially from the start of the season because there's such a small sample size, but there's a long way to go.
Absolutely. I like this from Adam. He said, I was watching via IG, had to jump on the YouTube. You can get in the chat, hang out with everybody else. So see, Bo is back in the chat. Bo, what up? I love you. I miss you. Hopefully you'll be down at Greta on Thursday when we're here to party. Also, Brett, I think I gave you the wrong email for Anthony DeMarco, so I just sent him the link as well. So he should be hopping in soon. But tonight, the Philadelphia Flyers in town. They've started their season on a West Coast road trip. They hit up Vancouver, they hit up Calgary, they're going to hit up Edmonton, then Seattle, then they will make their way home. I've also had this argument as well that maybe the Oilers just need to get out on a road trip with all the fellas together, go out for a nice team dinner, crush a couple beers together one night, maybe play guilty the following night. I know that works sometimes. Hey, crazier things have been done in the NHL, but the Flyers in town, 1-1 on the season. They went 38, 33, and 11 last year, and they missed the playoffs by 4 points because they lost 9 of their last 11 games, including 8 in a row at one point. Remember that wild card race last year was incredible, and the Washington Capitals, I believe, ended up getting that spot. You never know what you're going to get with John Tortorella behind the bench. You lose your starting goaltender. They were dealt some bad hands, and last year it was a roller coaster, to say the least. You look at their team this year, lots of young talent, lots of good names. Mitchkov, we'll talk about him with Anthony in just a second. Owen Tippett, Tyson Forrester, Morgan Frost, plenty of good names out there, but they are not household names. I then think you look at the back end, there's much room for imagination on there. They got Cam York and Travis Sanheim as their first pair. Eric Johnson is still in the NHL, and he's on the second pair for the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. So there's that, and then there's the goaltender situation where Carter Hart, not going to touch this one with a 10-foot pole. Don't know what is happening with his legal battle, legal issues, whatever you want to say. But what we do know is he ain't going to be playing in the NHL this season. So the Flyers and Torts, they're going to have to figure this out on their own, which, Brett, that's tough because you put a high pick into this guy. You put years of development into this guy. I'm not defending Carter Hart by any means of anything about that, but on the ice, that is a brutal thing to be dealt for the Philadelphia Flyers organization.
Yeah, and now they've been
They're in
rebuilding.
limbo. You're stuck in limbo now.
Well, yeah, but you've also now been rebuilding that goalie situation, or goalie development, I should say, with Philadelphia. They had Fedotov that came in. Urson's been able to step up as well. There's another goalie that is completely slipping my mind, who's their backup right now, I'm pretty sure. So, which we'll find out with Anthony as well, I'm sure. But no, 100%. But I think Urson's definitely been able to step up in a situation where he's just kind of been thrusted into the starting spot.
Yep. You just mentioned Anthony DeMarco. I see him in the waiting room. So why don't we get to him? Take a look at the Flyers lineup as well, courtesy of our friends from Greta Bar Yegg, because the season kickoff party is here, people. What better way to kick it off than with us down at Greta? It's all going down Thursday, October 17th, presented by our friends at Alberta Blue Cross. Doors open at 4 p.m. This is 2 days from now, and you know the drill. Tickets are going at fast. Hit up nationgear.ca to find out more information and get those. We're going to have it all. Prizes, trivia, giveaways, maybe some suds being bought by the team at Oilers Nation. We're also going to be supporting Free Play for Kids, helping kids in the community access sports. Don't miss out on the biggest kickoff party of the year. Be there or hear about it all season long, or at least until the next watch party we do. Visit nationgear.ca to reserve your spot. Also, fun fact, when we're done with Anthony, we're going to play a fun little game where I have been tasked with giving away some of these Greta kickoff parties. So everybody stay in the chat, and you yourselves could be walking away from tonight with some sick-ass tickets to Greta Bar Yegg. But without further ado, let's bring him in. The man, the myth, the legend, Anthony DeMarco, contributor at Daily Faceoff. You've seen his face here on Oilers Nation before. Kind of our resident Philadelphia Flyers guy. Anthony, how we doing so far? Probably better than everybody's doing in Edmonton, because you would think the world is ending.
Hey, man, I know how it is in the Canadian market. I am maybe the resident Flyers guy, but I'm Montreal. And when we have meltdowns, it's in 2 languages, so it's double the trouble.
Dude, that would actually be brutal. If I had to deal with a chat that was bilingual coming at me in every which way, I don't know if I'd be able to process anything going on in there. But we'll talk about the Flyers in just a second. But we got to start with the Edmonton Oilers, with the fire that's been going on in this city so far. So 0-3 to start the season, 3 goals for to start the season, 15 goals against in 180 minutes of hockey. That ain't ever going to cut it. That is not a formula that's going to win in the NHL. But the goaltending has been bad. The top 6 scoring has been bad. The defense has been bad with communications and getting familiar with new partners and all that going on. As an outsider perspective watching, what do you think has been the biggest issue that's plagued the Edmonton Oilers' 0-3 start so far this season?
Well, I think it's the top 6, right? Because if you had told me 2 weeks ago that they would struggle in net, that they would struggle on the back end, especially losing some bodies back there, I would have said, you know what? It makes sense. Cody Ceci and Vincent Desharnais, they're not massive names, but on an already, let's say, shallow defensive group, beyond that top 3 of Bouchard, Ekholm, and Nurse, any bodies moving out there was going to be a bit of a hit for the back end. We know what Stuart Skinner is. He has some hot streaks in him. He is a starting goalie in the NHL, but he is a guy who sometimes is going to hit the skids and will have some tough starts. You don't have a formidable backup in a consistent fashion in Pickard. So these were things that I think were expected. But what is the hallmark of the Edmonton Oilers? They can outscore their problems. And coming into this season, I believe it was Frank Saravalli who said this was the best top 6 the Edmonton Oilers had in 30 plus years. And that just has simply not been the case. Draisaitl, 1 goal. McDavid, out, is he at 0 points or just 1 assist to the first 3 games? 2 assists to the first 3 games. Well, that's pretty much like 1 assist for every other player. But it's just not been good enough. I don't think that's a revolutionary take by any stretch. I wouldn't hit the panic button as we saw last year, the way it started and the way it ended. But with everything spiraling out of control and with cup aspirations, it's easy to see why everyone is not super, super optimistic through 3 games.
So I always say the use of McDry, Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl together on a line is in a case of break glass in case of emergency. You bring them out when you're down a goal and you need a win late in the game, something like that. Not ideal to have to bust it out to start game 4 of the regular season. I understand the top 6 hasn't been good, so you got to find goals any way you can't, as far as I'm concerned, but they've both barely produced 5v5. You're going to put them together. I'd like the lines to get a 5 to 10 game stretch to find some of that consistency. There is the argument, however, that you have no more time to wait. We saw what happened last year. If you don't grab a couple wins early, you're going to be playing catch up for the rest of the season. But that's not the only change, right? You're going to see Ryan Nugent-Hopkins now play center on the second line with Victor Arvidsson. Vasily Podkolzin moves up. Jeff Skinner moves down. Do you think it's a little crazy? Now you've got changes on the back end as well we can touch on. Game 4 of the season to be changing. I understand the top 6 to get a goal here or there, but to change 3 lines and 2 defensive pairings 4 games into the season does have me a little worried that Nobby himself might be a little worried right now.
Yeah, I think why Knobloch is probably doing this is because the Oilers have such a versatile forward group, which in some instances can cause some problems and some overthinking. You have Leon Draisaitl, who can move from the right wing to center ice. You have Zach Hyman, who could play either side. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins could go from the left to the middle. Even a guy like Adam Henrique has moved up the lineup in a left wing fashion. I understand why Knobloch is doing this because you have the versatility at your disposal, but I do agree that it could pose some problems if you're trying to overthink things so early into the season. You know, you saw Jeff Skinner get taken off the second line, not even a game in? I think they were just in training camp and they already shifted things around. And for someone as a Jeff Skinner holder in a hockey pool, that was not very awesome for me. But I get it, but more on the back end, I think that you had something really going there with the stability and the structure of Ekholm and Bouchard, Nurse, and was it the younger defenseman? His name is escaping me with the E that he started with, Emerson. And I understand that you have a lot of new bodies back there, including Troy Stetcher. So I think it is a bit too early, especially on the back end, to start changing some things around because you were already going through a learning process with everyone trying to find some chemistry with some new faces. Up front, I get it. We've seen so many coaches do this in the McDavid and Draisaitl era with all your versatile forwards who can shift to the middle, to the wing, to either wing. But it's more so on the back end. I think it's a bit too early to start mixing and matching because you still have a lot of new faces there who are maybe just trying to get adjusted to their new partners.
I said consistency is going to be key on the back end and communication. That only comes with time and experience. So let's talk about tonight. Flyers coming into town. Younger team. They've got some stars. I want to talk about Matvei Michkov in just a second. But we had Bruce Kurlock on Oilers Nation every day earlier today. He said this is the perfect get-right spot for the Edmonton Oilers. I laughed because I said that on Saturday and Sunday, and they did not get right in both of those hockey games. Against a younger Flyers team like this, is it accurate for him to call this a get-right spot? Or do you think that this team could surprise some fans out here in Edmonton? Because we don't get to watch the Flyers a lot. We just get to check the box scores a frequent amount. Tell me about this Flyers team, and could they surprise people tonight?
Oh, 100%. Like, look, their record is 1-1. But they could easily be 2-0. They faced 2 really hot goalies in Kevin Lankinen and Dustin Wolf in each of their first 2 games. Lankinen and Urson were both very good in game 1. And then Ivan Fedotov, the backup, wasn't at his best. And Dustin Wolf really stole the show in Calgary on Saturday night. This is a Flyers team that they play the right way, fundamentally sound, and are a really do-it-by-committee group under John Tortorella. And that's no secret for any team that is coached by John Tortorella. But they do lack finishers. Beyond Travis Konechny, you don't really have a player that at this point in time is a slam dunk, unanimous first line player on any given team. Matvei Michkov has the skill, but he is just 2 games into North America. Owen Tippett shows flashes, but he's probably a second line forward on any given team. You look at the center ice position. You have Jet Luchenko getting back in for his second game after missing the night against Calgary as they're trying to load manage him. We kind of saw that with Leo Carlson in Anaheim last year. Morgan Frost is always kind of in and out of John Tortorella's doghouse, but does have top 6 potential. Sean Couturier is probably overall the best center that you have, but at this stage in his career, he's probably better suited for a third line. So this is a team that if you play sound defensive hockey, they're going to have a tough time getting through just because they don't have the firepower. But if you get caught off guard by them, it will end up in the back of your net, because this is a team who works hard. They're not going to give up on pucks, and they are just going to grind you down shift over shift. So if the Oilers come in here thinking that this might be an easy win, or maybe this is a get right game, as you alluded to before, they could be caught off guard, because they put about 40 pucks on net against the Calgary Flames the other night, and it was really the special teams that sunk them in the end.
Yeah, you mentioned Jet Luchenko as well. Interesting name. A lot of people talked about how he might not have been the pick or available even at the pick that Philadelphia ended up having. Makes the team, if I'm not mistaken, playing on the second line tonight for the Flyers. You mentioned how he's kind of been distributed similar to Leo Carlson. However, Leo Carlson was a second, third overall pick last year. Can you talk a little bit more about what the Flyers are seeing out of, and Tortorella is seeing out of, Jet Luchenko, and how he's really established himself into potentially making this team for the rest of the year?
I think when he showed up, he shocked everyone. And it was the little details in the game, the defensive awareness, the skating. And as one person with the team described to me, is that all those aspects of his game are already better than some of the other Flyers skaters on the roster. The thing with Jet Luchenko that may see him return to the OHL for one more year, and presumably, if that happens, be one of the premier players on Team Canada's World Junior Hockey Championship team, is his offense NHL ready now? Is it going to be impeded or halted in its progression if he sticks in the NHL? Because this isn't a player that the Flyers are going to keep around to center the fourth line with Garnett, Hathaway, and Scott Lawton. If he sticks around, he's going to be playing with the likes of not Sean Couturier, Tyson Forster, Owen Tippett, Matvey Michkov, potentially, Travis Konechny, Bobby Brink. These are the guys that they want Jet Luchenko to play with. Maybe get some power play time on the second unit, which we saw him get in game one, and he will get again tonight. I think with Jet Luchenko, it has been his work ethic and all the little details in his game that has got him to this part, to this this stage of the season. But I'm still waiting to see that offensive spark in his game. Now, he's only played one game. He's going to get a prime opportunity tonight. And I think that the only guarantee that we have with Jet Luchenko is that he's going to see the road trip out until they return after the game in Seattle. After that, I think it's fair game on whether he stays or whether he returns to the OHL. But at this point in time, I really think it comes down to the offensive side of his game, and if he could prove to the Flyers brass that it is NHL ready and it won't be negatively affected in its progression if he sticks in the NHL.
I was watching a clip of John Tortorella talking before tonight's game, and just his confidence in Luchenko, that they were going through video sessions together, and he's an incredibly intelligent young player that just seems to get it. Torts even went on to say, I'm not afraid of matching him up against 97 and 29 tonight. So we'll see how that one goes. You've mentioned Matvey Michkov. I am so excited to watch this dude play hockey. It might just be because we listen to Frank Saravalli talk all the time, and he's a big Philly guy as well. Super high on Michkov. You can see these were his stats when he played in the KHL. What can you tell me about the type of player he is, right? Former 7th overall pick, 19 years old. No one thought he would be over here this quickly. And he is the one bright spot here on the Philadelphia Flyers that I think the rest of the NHL is looking up, sitting up, and going, this guy might be a problem in a couple of years.
He's the first player that has shown up on the scene since the early days of Claude Giroux that has taken the NHL by notice. And it's something that John Tortorella has said himself, that this team has been starved for talent-wise for quite some time. Is he the next coming of Nikita Kucherov already? No, of course not. Is he dominating games 2 games into his NHL career? Of course not. But he did lead the preseason in points with 7 in 4 games. There is a reason why he went 7th overall, and why he probably would have gone much higher if it wasn't for the concerns of his commitment to the KHL leading into the 2023 draft. I think the fact that he's played both sides through this stage of the season, a natural right wing start on the left wing with Travis Konechny and Sean Couturier, shows the confidence that John Tortorella has in him. You see the vision that he has, the creativity that he has. I think that he's being a bit too unselfish. I would like to see him shoot the puck a lot more. But look, he's 19 years old. He's barely had a cup of water in the or a cup of coffee in the North American style of game, and that's going to come. And he's also playing on a team that doesn't have an abundance of talent. There is no top end center that he's going to play with the exception of Travis Konechny, who is also a right wing. He doesn't have a fellow first line winger to play with. On the power play, I think it's looked a lot better with Matvei Michkov. You see how the Flyers have been able to open up things. They have a lot of right shot trigger guys in Owen Tippett and Travis Konechny and Tyson Forster. So for a left shot playing the half wall for Matvei Michkov, it's opened up the Flyers' options on the power play, and it has been a bottom dweller power play for several consecutive years now. But you're just really waiting for him to have that takeover game. And I think that the first step to that is him having a bit more confidence and just being a bit more selfish with the puck.
Hey, that's a good problem to have. You want to see him shoot that puck, rip it a little bit more. Not tonight, though. Good without that power play goal this evening. Let's talk goalies now, because I mentioned the whole Carter Hart saga has obviously put a dampener on the the Philadelphia Flyers. Wrong team. I got baseball in the brain, Brad. I got baseball in the brain.
Right city, though. Right city.
Yeah, exactly. Carter Hart, obviously not going to be around this season. Really tough situation that we don't even really want to talk about. But it means Sam Ersson is going to be the 1A goalie this season, or at least what it looks like. He played 49 games last year at an .890 save percentage. What can you tell me about this goaltender? What kind of guy is he? Is he beatable? This was part of the get right spot that our guy Bruce Kurlock had mentioned earlier today, that you look at a goaltender like Sam Ersson and you're going to go nuclear with McDavid and Draisaitl. Theoretically, they should be able to beat this guy. What can you tell me about his style of goaltending?
I think he's a very sound fundamental goaltender. And I think that the main reason why it came off the tracks for Sam Ersson last year was because he was run into the ground after Carter Hart's unceremonious departure from the team. And they did not have a reliable backup that wound up with Sam Ersson, a rookie for all intents and purposes, being played way too much down the stretch. He was probably their best player in the first game of versus the Vancouver Canucks, when he really had to stare down with Kevin Lankinen, which who would have thought that a goaltending showdown between Lankinen and Ersson in game 1 of the season that went all the way to a shootout. Look, I know that on paper, he's not a guy that jumps off the page. He was a 5th round pick in 2018 or something. He's had very little hype coming up to the Philadelphia Flyers system, but I really think he's the real deal. And for a team that continues to have question marks beyond Sam Ersson in the crease, we could get to Ivan Fedotov maybe a bit later. But I've really been impressed with his composure, his mental makeup for sure, that he's been able to shake off a lot of not even bad goals, but just turbulent times in the Flyers crease. Because as we've been well documented, or as it has been well documented, the Flyers are anything but, a wagon team or a team with premier top end defensemen. They try and play fundamental sound hockey, but sometimes that breaks down just from the sheer lack of talent. And I've been really impressed with Sam Ersson's commitment to staying position-wise, and also his mental makeup of being the number one guy barely 2 years into his NHL career with no real formidable backup.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. I like the vote of confidence you gave him there. I could ask you about a million other Philadelphia Flyers, but I got to hit some other segments. So my final question to you, Anthony, give me a score prediction tonight and an anytime goal scorer that our folks could maybe go check out Bet365. Give me a Philadelphia anytime goal scorer tonight.
Anytime goal scorer for the Flyers, I think it's going to be Owen Tippett. I think he's due. He's been scoreless through the first 2 games of the season, and he's been kind of shuffled all over the place, kind of like a Swiss Army knife for John Tortorella. So I would say Owen Tippett. And for the score overall, sorry guys, I'm going to have to say loyal to the Flyers here. I'll say 4-3 for the Flyers in a tight contest, but I really think that this could go either way. But to kind of piggyback off of our last topic, I really think it's going to come down to the goaltending. What are we going to see on the Oilers side of the ice? And what are we going to see from Sam Ersson going head-to-head, or not head-to-head, but just staring down 2 of the best players in the NHL, reunited on the same line?
That's Anthony DeMarco, contributor here at Daily Faceoff, and just a stand-up dude. Thanks for doing this, Anthony. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, boys. Enjoy the game.
See ya. What an encyclopedia of Flyers knowledge. That was fantastic. What an absolute beauty. See some people in the chat here. What have we been talking about? Cat food, cat food, cat food. Yeah, who could have seen that coming? Yeah, we will see. We will have an answer tonight of whether Tyler Remchuk does have to eat that cat food. So Brett, we got to do a couple of things here, and we got to kind of do them a little bit quicker. As I did mention, puck drop might not be till around 8:20 later this evening, but we've been tasked with giving away a couple of tickets to our Nation Kickoff Party down at Greta Bar Yeg. That will be this Thursday. That's 2 days away, October 17th. Puck drop is at 6 p.m. Trying to get creative on a way to do it. I was just going to be like, give me a goal score, but no, that would create more work for me to have to do during the game and check again on After Dark. So we decided to make a little bit of Liam's game, but I guess it's Brett's game today because we picked an Edmonton Oiler who has played from the Oilers 2000 on. Those are the rules of Liam's game, and we've got 3 clues for you.
Not for this one. This one's like 1995 on.
Yeah, but he was an Oiler.
Yeah.
In 2000s.
Oh, okay.
That's the point I'm making. He's an Edmonton Oiler in the 2000s. So without further ado, we're going to give you 3 clues, one at a time. The first, I'm going to give it to 2 people today. I'm going to give 2 sets of 2 tickets to 2 different people. So without further ado, Brett, can you please give the people the first clue this evening?
The first clue this evening is a nice, simple one. I played 6 seasons in Edmonton. 6 seasons, pretty decent tenured Edmonton Oiler, I would say.
I will give another clue in with that. As I said, it was after the 2000s.
Yep.
During these 6 seasons, one of those years, this player averaged, and this is going to help you find the position, 25 minutes a night for the Edmonton Oilers. Brett, continue. Clue number 2.
Clue number 2 is I was selected in the 2nd round of the NHL draft. So not the what Andrew guessed.
If you put your things together, if I said 25 minutes a night, you kind of know what position that could be. Second round of the NHL draft. Haven't taken that many of this. Brett, give me the third clue now.
Third and final clue, official clue, is I was traded for one of the most suspended players in NHL history. Suspended, disciplined, if you want to get headhunter, if you want to put it that way.
Who was also an Edmonton Oiler, obviously, throughout this.
Well, because the trade was from Edmonton to a certain place for that certain player.
I still don't see anybody in the chat.
I haven't gotten anybody yet.
Adam Larson, Jeff Petrie, Sheldon Surrey, Jason Smith, Bob Stauffer. Nope. Not Larson as well.
Larson was a first overall pick.
Let this one cook. I could give you one more clue, which I will do.
Jason Chimera is a good guess, but it's not.
He didn't play 25 minutes a night for a season.
Also true.
I'll give you that one. Final clue. He's Finnish.
He is Finnish.
He's Finnish. He was one of my favorite players back in the olden days.
Loyal to the oil, or loyal to oil, has kind of is along the right track.
That's the person that he was traded for. Yep. So there you go. There's also another name in that trade as well. There's our winner. Dean's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, we needed two.
Well, it took too long. I got to keep moving along, so it's going to take too long. Dean's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please email Aaron at the Nation Network. That's 2 N's. It'll look weird at the end of Nation and Network. Keep sending it the way it should be. You just got yourself 2 tickets to the to the Greta kickoff party at downtown Edmonton, Greta Bar Yeg. You know him, you love him. I like Stealth Legends. I forgot about that guy. Actually, you know what? Should we give him to Jeffrey as well?
Sure.
Should we give him to...
Sure. Even though...
Ryan put it in... Wait, no, yeah. No, yeah, let's go with...
Yeah, Jeffrey, why not?
Jeffrey, email Aaron at thenationnetwork.com. Come on in. I've been told I can give away tickets all night tonight. I want you guys to all come hang out with me on Thursday nights. So you just got yourself 2 tickets to our Greta kickoff party as well.
Bang!
We got to move along quick here, so let me get in our need-to-know info courtesy of Wilhawk Beef Jerky. Only the finest tasting meat products earn that sweet, sweet Wilhawk name. Made from 100% pure Alberta beef, their jerky is aged, seasoned, marinated, and smoked to savory perfection. Their jerky gladly fills orders of any size. You can find their jerky, sausage, and other products exclusively out of their Leduc, Spruce Grove, and West Edmonton Mall kiosk locations. For more info, go to willhawkbeefjerky.com. So, Brett, just pull up the Edmonton Oilers lineup, and we'll just look at it this way instead of all this extra information I've got in here. We got changes, and we got changes galore. Are you seeing what I'm seeing on there, Brett? That is Warren Fogle on there. There you go. Leon Draisaitl with Connor McDavid and one Zach Hyman on the first line. Second line, Vasily Podkolzin moving up with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins centering Victor Arvidsson and Podkolzin. I've loved what I've seen from Podzilla so far this year. Lots of energy, lots of spark, and we saw him go from the fourth line to the third line last game. Nobby must have liked what he saw. Get a spark plug up there on the second line, which means Jeff Skinner moves down to the third line with Adam Henrique and Connor Brown. A lot of people, and I get it, you look at this as a demotion by sense. You move down the lineup. I do kind of believe when you look at that third line, that is more than capable of doing second line damage out there. And I think it's an effort that Jeff Skinner leads this team in shots right now. He's got 12 shots on goal throughout 3 games. He's been one of the guys that has been driving offense. And what I love about Skinner, he's like Evander Kane. Never met a shot he didn't like. He's going to throw it on net all the time. I feel like that's something that third line could use. And maybe it's an upgrade, demotion, whatever word you want to use. It's going to spread the wealth throughout that Oilers top 9, let's call it tonight. Then your fourth line, Janmark. We love Brown Mark featuring Rico. I think fourth line is where he should be at with Derek Ryan, who scored a beauty of a disallowed goal against Calgary, and Corey Perry, arguably the best Oiler on the D side of things. We switched these up too. It's still Ekholm and Bush. We're never going to change that up. But the doctor, Darnell Nurse, will play with Troy Stecher. We mentioned last episode, there is potential for that pairing to work out. We didn't know when Stecher would come in. Well, he entered the last game, but he was on that third pairing. Well, here, we're going to see if his puck moving. And I don't know, you talk about Stecher. When you look through Dermott, you look through Emerson, you look through Stecher, he's a natural right side defenseman. He has the most NHL experience out of all of those guys. And you kind of look at it logically, you go, oh, that does make a lot of sense. Third pairing, Brett Kulak with Ty Emerson, who draws back into the lineup after being a healthy scratch against the Flames. Didn't really like that move. I've heard way too much about Ty Emerson, read too much about him that I want to give him a solid 10-game stretch to start the season, and we'll see how things go from there. Let's take a look at the Flyers side of things. Need to know, I mentioned they missed the playoffs the last 4 years in a row. Matvei Michkov, we'll just do the lines here as well, Brett. Give them here for me. We've got Owen Tippett on the first line with Morgan Frost and the aforementioned Matvei Michkov. I'm going to have my eyes glued to this guy. We've just heard so much about him. Was playing with him on Shell recently. Scored a Geno. No big deal. Not going to happen tonight. Second line, Tyson Forrester with Jet Luchenko, the 13th overall pick in this year's NHL entry draft. And Travis Konechny. I look at Konechny and I want him to be an Edmonton Oilers so bad. But tonight he is the enemy. Third line, Joel Farabee with Sean Couturier and Bobby Brink. Fourth line, Scott Lawton, Ryan Poling, and Garnet Hathaway. You go to the D side, and I mentioned earlier, this is nothing to write home about. Cam York with Travis Sanheim, Eric Johnson with Jamie Drysdale, and Igor Zamula with Rasmus Ristolainen on that right side. Let's move now to our Sherwood Ford Giants storyline, brought to you by Sherwood Ford the Giant, because the annual Sherwood Ford Food Drive is coming up fast from October 23rd to November 6th in support of the Strathcona Food Bank. Donations will be collected at Sherwood Ford and at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. And this drive wouldn't be possible without the students at Lakeland Ridge Community School. Food donations are also being collected at the school by the students and will be given to families in need around Strathcona County through the food bank. Please, please, please help this cause out. If you've got some non-perishable items, something you can give away. Get into the holiday season. It was just Thanksgiving. We're getting around to Christmas time as well. We got to help out those in need. My Sherwood Ford Giant storyline this evening: offense, offense, offense. I need to see some offense. You're going nuclear for a reason. You're spreading out Jeff Skinner along the lineup to try and see where you can find some offense. 3 goals in 3 games. That cannot happen. That will not continue to happen for the Edmonton Oilers, because tonight I am so confident they're going to come out and pounce. I also really like Vasily Podkolzin on that second line in the top 6. There's been some doubts of whether or not Nuge can still play center around here in the NHL. I will never doubt Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as far as I'm concerned. So I'm excited to see that top 6 and how they play. That is my storyline tonight. Let me know in the chat if you've got something you're looking for. Brett, You picking up what I'm laying down? Give me goals. I have not celebrated enough goals. How am I supposed to hit my bets if you're scoring 1 goal a game?
Goals, goals, goals. That's all I can think about. Yes, no, and the last couple of games I have predicted, and we will get into our game day predictions later, that Edmonton would score 5+ goals, 4+ goals in each of these games. They haven't so far. One of these games is going to buck the trend of them not going to be able to, or them not being able to score 4+, 5+. This might be the game. And I get it's kind of a catch-22, could be a catch-22 as well type of game. But I think this one might finally be the one where we get those goals.
Goals, goals, goals. Cody Cece's back in. We missed you. Love seeing you every day. He says, bring me home. Dackie's in and says the MF Breadman. All right. That's enough. That's enough of that. Let's move. Let's move now. Do we want to get in? Let's get in our Bet365 Bordzy's bankroll so I can let it marinate, let the chat figure it out, and we can continue to talk some puck. And Bordzy's bankroll is brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Pre-Gaming with Bordsy. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets, whatever the sport, whatever the moment. It is never ordinary at Bet365. And if you look on the bottom of your screen, you can use the code, all capitals, Oily Bonus. Also download the app today. There are not a lot of betting apps in my day. Also a lot of dating apps in my day. But we'll leave that for another day. Bet365, without a doubt. It's just the easiest app to utilize, to manage throughout. And they really do make it easy. And of course, a couple same game parlays in there. So tonight, I've got 3 options for you. I'm confident in all 3 of them. And they all have plus money. So you'll see your first option today is number 18 to get 1+ power play point. It is currently at plus 220 on the Bet365 market. It was at plus 230 when I checked earlier today. So the market is moving. Get this while you can. I could have just gone Hyman Point in general because he's going to be with the big dogs all game tonight. I just do believe against this goaltender, the Oilers power play will get a couple moments, should get some opportunities. And I laughed. Mr. Burns said one recommendation she had, don't breathe in the crease. So that also applies to Zach Hyman. We saw Corey Perry's goal get disallowed for what I still don't understand. The second option, number 29, to get 2+ points. They don't got to be on the power play. They can be anywhere. Plus 205 for Draisaitl on Connor McDavid's wing with Zach Hyman on there as well. That is nuts to me. I pounced all over this one. Plus 205. Like I mentioned, Draisaitl, only 1 goal so far. You know that is going to change soon enough. And then here is where the juice is. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Number 92, Pod Colson, Podzilla for an anytime goal. Still at plus 900 on the Bet365 market. And the reason this is smart, he's in the top 6 playing with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and, of course, with Victor Arvidsson. Pods has been sick so far throughout what we've seen these 2 or 3 games. He's had limited ice time, and clearly Nobby has felt the same way because he's promoted him in each of the last 2 games. And tonight, he's going to get some real talent to play with. We all remember Podzilla, a former first-round draft pick in the NHL. I believe he was 10th overall to the Vancouver Canucks. He's shown goal-scoring prowess before. Granted, it's been bits and spurts, inconsistencies. But you give him a guy like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who is kind of a consistent as they come. I have like Victor Arvidsson. I like Pods to get a goal tonight. And, of course, plus 900 for anyone in the top 6. Even if the Oilers have been averaging 1 goal a game, I got to smash that one. Brett, when you look at these 3 bets, which one is speaking to you?
Okay. You know.
They all do.
Yeah, well, again, I've said I'm a plus chaser. You have pleased me tonight, as all of them are pluses. But the other trend that I've been going with all year has been my anytime goal scorer, just like last year has been consistent. Last year, I went Vinny Desharnais. One of those were bound to be right, and it was, and that was when I was in California. I'm not in California yet. That happens in a week. Tonight, Pod Colson, Podzilla, gets his first goal as an Edmonton Oiler, and I've been calling it from the start. Podzilla is going to be the steal. I watched him in the World Junior A Challenge when it was out in, I believe, Bonnyville a couple of years ago, 2018.
Shout out the Pontiacs.
Shout out the Pontiacs. They played out near Lloydminster as well.
The
Watched
RJ
them there.
Lalonde Arena. Don't tell me why I know that much about Bonnyville.
Attaboy. But you know who else I went out and deliberately watched during his draft year because I loved him during his draft year? Another Russian, Klim Kostin. Now, listen, I'm not saying that this guy is Klim Kostin because I think that's an unfair comparison.
Can't put that on.
Different types of games, 100%. But this type of impact that Podzilla has brought and going to bring to this Edmonton team is going to be very similar, and we're going to see the start of that tonight.
I see people do be agreeing because this is the closest battle we've had so far, or you can be like me. Bet all three of them responsibly, of course. Only bet what you are willing to lose. Don't ever go get crazy out there. I also parlayed all three of these, but I couldn't parlay Hyman power play point, so I just did point plus 3,300. You gotta like that. Bordzy's bankroll went 3 for 3 multiple times last season. He just wasn't parlaying them all together, so maybe we will see what happens. But as I mentioned, bet responsibly. Only bet what you're willing to lose. I don't want to get any tweets about somebody lost a too much amount of money. But right now, Dry 2+ points, leading the way 42% of the way. Podzilla anytime goal 35%, and a Hyman power play point 23%. So that brings me to one last thing we can touch on. We got a couple minutes here. Special teams for the Edmonton Oilers has been abysmal so far. You could say to start this year, yes, they're at 20% on the power play. They went 1 of 5. We all remember that goal. Oilers were kind of out of that game. It was Draisaitl assisted by McDavid, of course, and Bouchard as well. Last year, their power play and penalty kill were huge factors in the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Stanley Cup finals. The PK was killing off at 25 straight in a row, 26 straight in a row, something like that. And through 4 games this year, special teams has not been special players making special plays. Haven't done that all year as well. They rank dead last in the NHL in penalty kill percentage with 44%. Their PK percentage looks like what their power play should normally look like. Do I think that will stay? No, we did lose a lot of guys on the PK, like your Ryan McLeods, like your Warren Fogels. But you got to expect them to be able to figure it out eventually. But my thing on the power play, it's my shirt for a giant storyline. Goals, goals, goals. Shoot the puck. Simple 3 words. I sound like my old man, becoming everything I've ever hated before. But shoot, I was getting so frustrated. Saw it a lot in the chat today when talking about one Evan Bouchard. I'm not going to tell Bouch, sit here and tell him how to quarterback the power play. He's incredibly gifted at it. He's incredibly good at it. And he's proven that. But it does look like 3 games into this, he's just thinking a little bit too much. You saw at the beginning of the game, and while it wasn't on the power play, Jeff Skinner scored first shift of the game because Ekholm just got a puck at the point, threw it on net, got a lucky bounce off the pads. Skinner was right there to bury it on the rebound. And on the power play, when things aren't working, you're trying to get pretty, you're gripping your sticks a little bit, you're fighting it offensively, just fire the puck on net with some legs in front. This goaltender doesn't have the numbers to back it up that you should be able to beat this guy with a couple of greasy ones in front. That's also why I like a Zach Hyman power play point this evening. He scored him with his ass. He scored him with his face. He scored him with his chest. Just put pucks on net tonight on the power play with the man advantage, and good things will come. Speaking of good things, Lance Kane threw $2 in the chat, said, I just don't know where all my money goes. Maybe even nationgear.ca as well. If you want to get some tickets to our Greta kickoff party, Brett, get it in as well. The Nation Vacation. Still selling seats. If you haven't gotten them yet, you better get on them because they're on their last legs. This is the second wave of tickets as well. Going to Denver, Colorado, November 29th to December 3rd. Checking out the Oilers, taking on the Colorado Avalanche, and the Denver Broncos hosting the Cleveland Browns, who Brett will be without Amari Cooper.
Yeah, that was a surprising one. Funny thing is,
it was Tyler's birthday. He was thrilled. That was his favorite gift.
Really?
It was.
The funny thing is, the first thing that went through my mind was, oh, wow, we won't see Amari Cooper on the nation vacation anymore.
Oh no.
Oh, no. Who do they, is Jabril Peppers still there?
No, he's a Patriot.
Oh, yikes. I'm not happy I mentioned that. now.
Stealth Legends, he's in. He says, preach, Bordsy, preach. Ryan S., fire the biscuit. You can't score if you don't shoot, so just put it on. That's exactly what my dad used to say back in the day, so I am becoming everything I hate. My old sweater, too. Final question, everybody in the chat. Give me your score predictions and your anytime goal scores, Brett. I'm going to let you kick this one off. What are you feeling tonight? Please tell me the Edmonton Oilers are getting a W. A, I don't want to do another negative show. B, if they don't win, I feel like some of my bets aren't going to get hit. What's the score going to be?
I am going with a 5-1 victory for Edmonton, and I think I already mentioned it. Podzilla is going to be scoring a goal tonight. The one goal I am going to follow along with Anthony as well. I think that it is going to be Owen Tippett. Why not? He said Tippett, right? For the sake of this argument, it's Owen Tippett, baby.
Let's go. I see Lance Kane in, always optimistic. 4-0 Oil. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't just a dominating, I'm not going to say the word, but wouldn't a dominating that type of performance just feel so good? And we can talk about it after the game as well. As I mentioned, programming note, we will be going live right here on the ON YouTube right after the game. Me, producer Brad and Bordsy, and Nation Dan going to be joining us as well. I don't think I've hosted a show with Dan or had him on a show since that fateful day at the end of June last year, but we don't talk about that anymore because last year, that is in the rearview mirror. I'm going to say exactly what Steven said, 5-2 for the Edmonton Oilers. I like Podzilla to get on the board, but I think Zach Hyman, you're playing with those two guys. As I mentioned, just put your stick on the ice, put your body next to that post, become the third post. The odds of them banking a puck off you is pretty good. We'll find a way. Bo in, 5-2 Oil. Steven says McD as well. Percy, 6-2 Oilers. Let's hope, people, because after this game, well, you do not want to be talking about Tyler eating cat food. Would be a nice silver lining, though. We'll be able to spin it positively if it does happen. I love you all. Big shouts out to our sponsor, Sherwood Ford the Giant, for being the presenting sponsor of Pre-Gaming with Bordsy. Sherwood Power Sports Marine. Go check them out. Get a boat, get an ATV, get a quad, get a mobile of some kind. They've got them all. Greta Bar Yeg for the party as well. Bet365. Oh, and I forgot. Odd Company, Nation Beer. Brett, you're so good at your job. Nation Beer, everyday lager for game day and every day. Go check these bad boys out. Odd Company at their locations. They are in select liquor stores around the city. Dude, I went to Odd Company this summer for the first time in my life. What a spot. What a patio. What a vibe. I can't wait till we do our Oilers Nation everyday watch parties with me, Tyler, and Liam. We'll need a producer, so I'm sure you will be there as well.
Hey.
Odd Company does it right. I don't know how I didn't know who they were before until this year. They are lit. Go check them out. They also make incredible beers, most notably the Nation Beer Everyday Lager. I love you all. Catch you right here after the game. Good luck out on the Bet365 Battleground. See you later.